Are you dealing with a fresh ankle sprain? It is not just what you do, it is how you do it. In this video, we're going to be going over the top 3 ankle rehab exercises for early rehab to progress mobility, strength, and foot activation. Let's go. Hey guys, Neil Toussaint with TrickStrong.com, and it is our goal to help you guys perform without limitations. If you're just coming off an ankle sprain, you know how frustrating it is. As a doctor of physical therapy and movement artist myself, I've seen countless people skip steps in their ankle rehab, and that might lead to lingering stiffness, pain, or even re-injury. So in this video, we're trying to go over these 3 exercises that I think will help limit that. They'll bring back your mobility, strength, and confidence. And with these exercises, we want to keep the pain level low. It should be a relatively pain-free process, maybe up to about a 2 or 3 out of 10 at most during your exercises. And the other thing I would like to highlight is the 24-hour rule, which basically states that you shouldn't be feeling worse than you did the day before. So if you feel worse than you did the day before, then that means that you did too much and you should probably scale back the load or intensity or volume of your training. So we're gonna be using that process to help us progress back to health. By the way, if you want a complete roadmap, check out our ankle rehab series on the TrickStrong RX app, and then that is designed to get you back all the way from injury to peak performance. All right, let's go with these top 3 exercises we have for you right now. As we said earlier, it is not just what you do, it is how you do it. So with this first exercise, ankle cars, which stands for controlled articular rotations, they might seem very basic and very common to you, and that's okay. You know, ankle circles are good in general, but I think it's a little bit more deliberate when we do an ankle car because we're going to be building that control, strength, and mobility through a 360 range of motion. So what happens after ankle injury, or after any injury for that matter, is that we tend to baby it and not go into the ranges of motions that hurt or cause the pain in the first place. And that's the body trying to protect itself. However, we limit ourselves too much often, and this exercise is going to really help us get rid of any compensation. It's going to get circulation, blood flow to the area as well, help with joint health, and it's going to help you, like I said, build that strength and mobility in a 360. So you're just going to sit and you're going to have your ankle off to the edge of a table, bench, chair, whatever. And you want to do a very big circle. You're trying to guide it with your big toe. So you're trying to do the biggest pain-free, deliberate circle you can. And you're really pushing into each range of motion. So you see how slow I'm doing it? It's because I'm fighting myself trying to carve more space out. Obviously, early after ankle sprain, you might not be able to do it with this much intensity. However, you're going to do it with as much intensity as is pain-free, and then day by day, you're going to improve this drastically. I would say you want to do about 5 circles in one direction, and then you're going to go in the other direction. And you're really trying not to move anything else. So trying not to move your hip, your knee, etc. It is really about telling your body and your brain that your ankle can move in this range of motion. And that is important information for it because it's going to send that back and it's going to say, hey, we can actually use this. So those compensation patterns aren't going to get as strong of a hold. And then what's really good is like when you're in this range, for example, like if you rolled your ankle and you're doing this pain-free as much as you can, you're going to be building that tissue back up along those lines so that you're not going to be as vulnerable to injury going forward. And for ankle cars, we're going to want to do multiple sets daily. So sets of 5, as we said before. And you can start with about 3 sets a day, see how your ankle handles it. And I would just go up to 5 and beyond. You can't do this too much. If you're doing it in a pain-free way, it's going to help with inflammation, pain, and that mobility and strength. Next, we're going to be going over the 4-way ankle progression. So we're going to start with 4-way ankle isometrics. We're going to go into 4 directions of the ankle. So that's dorsiflexion, bringing your toes up towards your shin, plantar flexion, pointing your foot, inversion, turning your foot in, and eversion, turning your foot out. But with isometrics, there is no movement, and that's going to help if it hurts or move your ankle, you can still actually improve your strength by pushing as hard as you can in a pain-free way into something that is not going to allow you to move. So you're going to need something stiff like a strap, a towel, any sort of band that won't be able to move, I would prefer something like a towel or a strap though, so there's no give at all. So I have something like this, and we're gonna go through all 4 directions here. So first, let's just start with the easiest one, which is plantar flexion, and that's gonna be you pushing that gas pedal down onto that strap. So you're just gonna loop your foot here, and you're just gonna push down. So I'm trying to push down like this towards the camera using my foot, and you're only gonna go to the max pain-free effort. So that means though that day after day, if you're able to push a little bit harder without pain, you wanna test that each day. So push a little bit harder, see what you can tolerate. Once you feel a little bit of pain or tension, then you can back off slightly, and then that's gonna be your perfect range. You're gonna wanna do these for 10-second holds, and we're gonna do them in each direction. We'll talk more about the reps after this. But now we're gonna do E version. So now I'm gonna try to take my pinky and bring it out to the side. The motion would look like this. I'm trying to scoop that ankle out, and I'm gonna put this strap around mainly on the outside of that foot. I'm gonna use my other foot as a fulcrum, and now I can push against that. Again, you're gonna ramp up that tension. So especially if you're in pain right now, it doesn't make sense to immediately go as hard as you can. You're gonna ramp up and see what you can tolerate. You're gonna hold that for 10 seconds as well. And relax. Next, we're gonna put that pressure on the inner part of your ankle, and that's gonna allow you to resist inversion, which is going inside. So the motion without the strap will look like this. So you're really trying to bring that ankle in. And since this is an isometric, we're not going to allow that to happen. So we're gonna cross your foot like this, and then now you can push into the band that way. And if you think this is awkward to push with this foot position, then you can attach the strap to a immovable object, or just loop it around, like a towel, loop it around some frame, maybe some squat rack or something like that, so that it's a strap that can't move. You can even get a door jamb as well, and I'll show you what that would look like. You can easily search that on Amazon or anything, and a door jamb will help you get a strap that is very stiff and it won't move on you. And then the last one is gonna be dorsiflexion. So it's gonna be pulling your toes up. This one's a little bit more challenging to do with just the foot position, but basically you're just gonna loop it from the bottom, and then you're gonna push using your other leg. So now you're gonna bend the leg that's involved. So now you're in this position. So now I can pull towards my face. And then you push for 10 seconds and relax. So I'm just trying to get those toes to my shins. Good. For this next progression, it's very similar, but we're just gonna be moving. And for that, I'll show you a different angle so that you can get a sense of how I'm looping the band around my foot as well. And again, so we're gonna do that gas pedal. And you're just gonna push down. And that's that first direction that we went over, plantar flexion. For E version, I'm gonna get that on the outside of my ankle again, as I showed you. I'm gonna use this foot to give that tension, and I'm going in and out towards the camera. For inversion, same thing as we did before. We're gonna loop there, and we're gonna pull towards the inside of your leg. For dorsiflexion, that was our weird one, where you're gonna pull, you're gonna bend this leg now, you're gonna push this leg straight, and now you can pull so that your toes are going towards your shin. And you're gonna get a burnout in that shin muscle here. But the four-way ankle progression is not done. This is where most people stop. But in order to progress it past that, bands aren't really gonna help you do things that are in a standing or athletic position. It's designed to help you when you can't do that stuff. But once you can do that stuff, we're gonna wanna do those 4 directions in a weight-bearing position. So that's gonna help us progress even further. And then of course we can go beyond that, but that's beyond the scope of this video. But as far as those sitting and standing progressions, it would look like this. So for that tib raise, for that dorsiflexion, we can start in a seated position and just pull our ankles up towards our shins. You can progress that again by doing it in a standing position. And you're just gonna do raises against gravity and against your body weight. For plantar flexion, that pointing, we could do a seated calf raise, and you can actually use your hands for additional weight. You could bring your feet closer to progress it, because that's gonna increase the ankle angle into dorsiflexion. And then you can stand, and then do calf raise like that. You can even get up to 2 up and try to control it 1 down. And finally, you can do single legs if you can tolerate it. You could use that leg for support if you need to, until you're ready to do it on its own. And that would be the plantar flexion progression. So for inversion and eversion, I honestly would keep doing the bands. Those are pretty good to burn those muscles out, but you can also do foot rocks. So foot rocks from a seated position, you're gonna look like this, where you're just rocking your feet back and forth, so you're going on the inside and outside. And if you want to stabilize your hips and try not to move them, you can have your hands to listen so that you're making sure that you're only moving from the ankle. And then once you get used to that, you wouldn't need that, and then you could just isolate. Then you could even do this in a standing position, which obviously if you just sprained your ankle, might be a bit scary, but it is important to help build that control back into the foot. I'll show you from this side. For the 4-way ankle progression, I would do about 5 to 10 reps of the isometric holds, so the ones we did in the beginning, and that would be of 10-second holds. So you're gonna do about 5 to 10 reps of that per day in each direction. And then I would add on to that, so you're gonna keep doing those isometrics throughout the process, but then as you feel comfortable, you're gonna add those moving sets. So that's going to be the banded moving sets or the standing ones as well as you progress. And you can do about 2 sets to fatigue on a daily basis or every other day, just making sure you're heeding that 24-hour rule. So if that 24-hour rule, you're feeling a little bit sore, maybe you need a second day to recover, that is fine, then you're gonna do every other day. But the point is that you're doing this very frequently, because right now these exercises aren't extremely high load. They're not gonna be much higher than the daily activities you're gonna be doing right now. So the point is to get you back up to speed so that you can do the more advanced stuff that we would recommend after this stage is done. So our third and final exercise here is gonna be the short foot progression. So short foot exercise is basically taking your arch and lifting it without moving your toes or your heels from their position. So that's gonna really strengthen the foot intrinsic muscles, so the muscles deep to the foot that are gonna help stabilize the foot and ankle. Foot training is neglected, and it sounds weird to have like a foot day in the gym or whatever, but by training your foot directly, you're gonna get a lot more benefits because that's low-hanging fruit. No one's really doing that. They've actually shown, I believe it was high-level basketball players, so trained basketball players actually did a 6-week foot program, and that's what we based our 6-pack feet program off of on the TrickStrong RX app. But basically they showed that these exercises improve their vertical. So we're not even talking about just pain or whatever, like we're talking about performance gains. And that's gonna really help stabilize the foot and ankle so that you're able to get back a lot sooner and with more confidence, with more strength, and with more resilience in that area. So I'm gonna show you how to do that first. We're gonna start with the seated progression. We're gonna go to standing, and then we're gonna do it single leg. Basically, you're gonna be sitting down, and I'm just staggering my feet so you guys can see, but really you could have both feet together if you wanted. But basically, what I'm gonna be doing is, hopefully you can see that movement of the big toe and the heel are staying stationary, but my arch is lifting. It's gonna be hard to do this at first, but over time, you're gonna get the control over your foot to be able to do that visibly. But even if you can't do it visibly, if you can feel that muscle engaging in the bottom of your foot, then you're on the right track. A tip I like to give if you're having trouble getting awareness of this is you're gonna take both of your fingers, you're gonna put it at the kind of top of that arch, and you're gonna help lift the arch, but you're gonna try to help with your foot as well, if that makes sense. So you're teaching your foot the motion you want, and you're trying to do this scooping motion to lift your arch each time. Once you're able to get a really good contraction, it should feel almost like a foot cramp, and you're able to do about 10 reps, 10-second holds, then we can progress to a standing position. Because we really want good control over this before we stand, because when you stand, you might compensate in ways that you're not realizing. So then when we stand, again, our feet would be probably together to give you that support, but I'm just gonna stagger to show you that. Now, some people find it a bit easier in a way too, and that's why I want you to master the isolation in the seated position before standing. But now you have that pressure into your foot, and you want to load that foot, and then really just push down on the floor as you grab the floor with your feet, and you're really going to be lifting that arch without curling your toes. It's more of a press than a curl. And again, you're going to be doing that for 10-second holds. And then we're gonna progress again with single leg balance. So single leg balance is gonna be another challenging exercise for us, especially right after ankle sprain. But that's always done, right? So let's add the short foot exercise with single leg balance. That way you can actually progress your balance that much faster. So you're gonna use a handhold assistance here to start, and then of course you can remove that assistance, and we'll get to that last progression in a second. But I have my handhold here, and now I'm really gripping the floor, pressing into it, not curling my toes, and trying to lift that arch, and hopefully you guys can see that that's happening. It's a lot more intense than it sounds and looks, so I want you guys to give this a shot. Lastly, the hardest progression here is going to actually be what we call bridging the gap. So you're gonna take anything, you don't necessarily need equipment. You can use 2 books, anything of 2 surfaces that are equal. And you wanna make sure you're stable, so use a wall for support or anything for support, especially for starting this out. But hopefully you guys can see this. I know it's black on black here, but I have a little bit of a space in between those blocks. And so now the ball of my foot is on one block and my heel is on the other block, and use this for support. And now I'm gonna be doing the same single leg short foot progression, but through these blocks. And that's going to bring that load into the arch even more. So if you can imagine a bridge, now it doesn't have that support on the bottom, so it's gonna be more likely to fall. So that's loading the middle of the foot even more. And then of course the last progression would be not using the wall at all and just trying to stabilize, and that's a lot more difficult, especially if you can look ahead. It's gonna help improve that proprioception in the foot and ankle. And again, for that short foot progression, we're gonna be doing 10 times 10-second holds daily or every other day, depending on how you're recovering. And that's it. We had the top 3 exercises to help you rehab your ankle after an ankle sprain. And that was the ankle cars, which is gonna help with pain and mobility, the 4-way ankle progression, which is gonna be strength in all directions. And then we went to the short foot exercise to help build a strong and stable foundation for the foot and ankle. And remember, we wanted to keep that pain level pretty low. No more than a 3 out of 10 throughout this whole process would be ideal. And I want you guys to also remember the 24-hour rule, which is that things are getting better as you move along, not staying the same or getting worse throughout week after week. You want to make sure you're in that upwards trajectory as you do these exercises. And if you're looking for a complete step-by-step plan, we've got you on the TrickStrong RX app. Check out our ankle rehab series, which is designed to help you from rehab to peak performance. So hope you guys enjoyed this video and you got a lot out of it. And if you did, like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you greatly. Train hard, stay safe, and see you soon for the next one.